Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. We all think we know the story, right? The Headless Horseman, the spooky chase. But tonight, we're going to peel back the layers. We're deconstructing these characters to find the sharp, kind of hilarious commentary that's hiding in plain sight. Okay, let's get into it.
So, is this really just a terrifying ghost story to tell around the campfire? Or is Washington Irving playing a much, much bigger game? That is the question we're tackling here. And by the end, you'll see exactly how Irving uses these characters to pit old school tradition against newfangled progress and spooky illusion against cold, hard reality.
First things first, we have to get a feel for the world these characters live in. See, Sleepy Hollow isn't just a place on a map. It's a whole state of mind. It's a community so soaked in superstition that it basically puts up a big wall to the outside world. Irving paints this amazing picture of a place that's almost enchanted. It's like time just stopped there. It's completely rooted in its own ways, its own traditions. And this deep, dreamy quiet is the total opposite of the hustle and bustle happening everywhere else. In Sleepy Hollow, history isn't something you read in a book. It's something you hear in a ghost story. And at the very heart of all this folklore is the ghost, the Headless Horseman. He isn't just some random spook. He is the spirit of the entire region. He's the embodiment of the town's deepest, darkest superstitions. This belief in the supernatural is absolutely fundamental to how they see the world. And as we're about to find out, it makes for the perfect weapon to use against an outsider. So let's get to the main event, the conflict that drives this whole story. It really is a classic showdown between two totally opposite forces, brought to life by two unforgettable characters. First up, meet our interloper, Ichabod Crane. He is not from around here. He's from Connecticut, and boy does it show. He represents a completely different vibe. He's all about ambition, greed, and this goofy belief that his intellect is, superior. To put it mildly, he just doesn't fit in. Now, what's so fascinating about Ichabod is that he's a walking contradiction. He's pompous and thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but he's also unbelievably gullible. He's obsessed with ghost stories, which ironically makes him just as superstitious as the locals he secretly looks down on. His main drive? Greed. And he loves to show off his book learning, even though it turns out he's only read a handful of books. It's this wild mix of arrogance and foolishness that makes him the perfect target. And in the other corner, we have Abraham Van Brunt, but everyone calls him Brom Bones. He is everything Ichabod is not. He's basically Sleepy Hollow in human form. Strong, confident, and absolutely adored by everyone in town. Brom is the town's hero, no question about it. He's fun-loving, admired by all, and a total master of the practical joke. As a native son, he stands for everything the town holds dear: tradition, community spirit, and good old-fashioned physical strength. So while Ichabod is this awkward, disruptive outsider, Brom is the town's natural protector. And this slide just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? You've got Ichabod on one side, representing the outside world of progress and ambition, thinking his intellect is his superpower. And then you have Brom, the symbol of tradition and community, whose power comes from his muscles and his popularity. This isn't just two guys fighting over a girl. It's a battle for the soul of Sleepy Hollow. Okay, and this is a really crucial point. Check out how the town reacts to Ichabod's so-called power source. His books represent this formal, outside knowledge that the community just doesn't trust. They prefer their own stories, told out loud. The fact that they burn his few belongings, including his books, after he disappears, that is no small detail. It's the town's final defiant rejection of his troublesome intellect and everything he stands for. So what are these two guys even fighting over? Well, on the surface, it's a girl. But Katrina Van Tassel is way more than just a love interest. She's really a symbol of the wealth and, well, the richness of Sleepy Hollow itself. Katrina is the town's it girl. She's beautiful, she's rich, and she's the daughter of a very successful farmer. She loves the attention from both Ichabod and Brom and is pretty much the star of her own life story. She represents everything good about Sleepy Hollow: comfort, beauty, and abundance. She's the ultimate prize. And this quote gets right to the heart of what makes Ichabod tick. For him, this has nothing to do with love. It's about pure, simple greed. He looks at Katrina and he doesn't see a person, he sees an inventory. He's imagining her father's massive farm, all the fancy furniture, the stacks of cash. This kind of raw ambition is just totally alien in a town where people are perfectly happy with what they already have. Okay, this brings us to that famous climax, the heart-pounding chase through the dark woods. But Irvin is so clever here, he leaves us questioning everything. Was this a real supernatural event, or was it something a lot more human? This is the question the whole story wants us to ask. So, Ichabod just got shot down by Katrina at the party. He's riding home alone in the dark, feeling pretty miserable. What happens next has been debated for 200 years. So, let's break down the evidence like detectives. So, the whole thing plays out like a perfect horror movie scene, right? Ichabod runs into this headless rider, there's a wild chase, and then the big moment. The rider throws its head, hits Ichabod, and knocks him right off his horse. The next morning, poof, he's gone, vanished. Case closed. It was a ghost, right? Well, maybe not so fast. Because the next day, what does the search party find? They find Ichabod's horse, they find his hat, and they find this, a smashed pumpkin lying right there by the bridge. Now, Irving didn't just throw that in for fun. This is Exhibit A. It's the key piece of evidence that gives us a perfectly logical explanation for that severed head. And if you need a smoking gun, here it is. After Ichabod disappears, Brom, of course, marries Katrina. And the story goes that he gets this really knowing look and a big laugh whenever anyone mentions that smashed pumpkin. The message is crystal clear. Brom Bones, the master prankster, used the town's favorite ghost story, dressed up as the horseman, and scared his rival right out of town for good. So the outsider gets kicked out. Tradition wins the day. End of story, right? Nope. Irving saves his sharpest, most cynical joke for the very end when he reveals what actually happened to Ichabod. You'd think that's the end of Ichabod Crane, a tale of failure and epic humiliation, but you would be totally, completely wrong. In fact, getting chased out of Sleepy Hollow was the best thing that ever happened to the guy. We find out later that Ichabod is alive and doing great. He left the area, went to law school, became a successful politician, and eventually even got appointed as a judge. His humiliating defeat in the old-fashioned world of Sleepy Hollow was actually the launchpad for his success in the so-called modern world. And this is Irving's brilliant satirical mic drop. The exact same personality traits that made Ichabod an outcast in Sleepy Hollow, his pomposity, his greed, his self-serving nature, are the very things that help him climb the ladder in law and politics. Irving is pretty much winking at us and saying, yeah, in modern society, these character flaws aren't just overlooked, they're practically job requirements. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Irving wrote this razor-sharp satire on ambition and politics over 200 years ago, and it kind of forces you to ask, when it comes to the halls of power, what, if anything, has really changed? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.